Have you ever had one of those days where you wake up not knowing your entire life is about to change? That was me. Because this was the day I finally got engaged. And trust me, you won't believe how it all happened. It didn't just start like a fairy tale. No roses on the bed, no dramatic music, no perfect setting. In fact, it started with me feeling nervous, pacing around, my hands shaking slightly. I kept asking myself, is this really happening today? Or am I just dreaming? But here's the crazy part. While I was busy overthinking, someone else had already planned everything behind my back. The people around me, they were all in on a secret I wasn't supposed to know until the very last second. And that's where it gets shocking, because the way it unfolded wasn't just unexpected, it was unforgettable. Imagine walking into a normal day, only to realize every moment, every step, every word you hear is actually part of a plan that ends with you saying yes to forever. Sounds unreal, right? But it's exactly what happened to me that day. At first, I noticed little things that didn't make sense. My phone buzzing more than usual. Friends asking me strange questions like, "Where are you right now?" Or "What time are you leaving?" I thought they were just being random. But later I found out they were tracking my every move. And then the biggest clue hit me. A message popped up on my phone that said, "Don't be late. This is the most important moment of your life." I froze. My heart started racing. I didn't know whether to smile or panic, because deep down I had always imagined how this day would come, but not like this. Not in such a surprising, out of the blue way. And that's when I realized something huge was about to happen. But the real twist, the engagement wasn't waiting for me in a fancy hall or decorated garden. It was somewhere I never expected. And here's where the story takes a turn you won't see coming. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The room looked too perfect, the atmosphere too charged. Almost as if every single person knew something I didn't. I kept scanning the room, wondering, why is everyone smiling at me like that? It wasn't a casual smile. It was the kind of smile people have when they're holding on to a secret that's about to explode. And that's when I noticed one small detail that nearly gave it away. On the corner table, tucked under a bouquet of roses, there was a little velvet box, not opened, not hidden very well either. My heart started racing. Could it be? Could this be the moment I'd been waiting for? I wanted to pick it up, but I froze. What if it wasn't meant for me? What if I was wrong? That single thought pulled me back, but my chest was pounding so hard I could hear it echo inside my ears. As I turned away from the table, someone gently touched my shoulder. That simple gesture felt heavier than anything before. I spun around, half expecting an explanation, but instead I was met with the most intense, almost nervous smile. Their hand was shaking ever so slightly, as if they were about to do something that would change everything. And then, without a word, they led me toward the center of the room. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to keep moving. Every step felt like a countdown. Every second stretched into forever. I could hear whispers, soft gasps, even someone holding back a laugh, like they already knew what was coming. That's when I noticed the lights dimming ever so slowly, the music shifting into something softer, sweeter, almost like the world was preparing itself for what was about to unfold. And at that moment, I realized this wasn't just a casual evening. No, this was the setup of a lifetime. You won't believe what happened next. Just when I thought the night couldn't get any more unforgettable, something so unexpected took place. The music in the background softened The lights seemed dimmer, and suddenly all eyes were quietly turning toward me. First, but I could feel a shift in the air. Like everyone knew something I didn't. I looked around, trying to make sense of it all. And then, out of nowhere, someone walked up holding a small box in their hands. My heart nearly stopped beating, because I instantly knew what that meant. But here's the twist. It wasn't handed to me right away. Instead, they whispered something into my ear. Words that sent shivers down my spine. But I wasn't sure if I heard them right. People around us started smiling. Some even gasped softly. And I was standing there frozen, caught between excitement and disbelief. I wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but my voice wouldn't come out. The box was right there, inches away from me, yet it felt like the longest distance I'd ever crossed in my life. Then it happened. Slowly, deliberately. They opened the box, and what I saw inside made my knees weak. It wasn't just a ring. It was something more personal, something that carried a story only the two of us knew. And at that very moment, I realized this wasn't just a proposal, it was a memory being brought to life in front of everyone. But the real shock came right after, because instead of asking me the big question immediately, they closed the box again, looked deep into my eyes, and said something that completely threw me off guard. I didn't know if I should laugh or cry, because right there, in that moment, I realized this wasn't just another normal day. Something much bigger was happening. My heart was pounding, like it was trying to speak louder than my own voice. And yet, I couldn't find the right words. Everything slowed down around me. People kept walking past, sounds from the street kept buzzing, but I couldn't hear any of it. My focus was only on what was right in front of me. And then, suddenly, I caught sight of the small detail I had missed before. A tiny velvet box, half hidden, almost as if it was waiting for the perfect second to reveal itself. My eyes froze on it. My breathing went heavy. And for the first time that day, I couldn't pretend to stay calm anymore. Every second felt like forever. Here's the crazy part. You know when your mind runs faster than time itself? That's exactly what happened. In just a blink, I imagined everything. The questions, the feelings, the memories of all those moments that had led to this single point. I thought of the first time I felt real connection. The times I had stayed up late, wondering if this was ever going to be real. The doubts, the fears, the quiet prayers whispered when nobody else was watching. And suddenly, I realized every single one of those moments had led me right here. But what came next was not what I expected. Instead of pulling the box out immediately, instead of rushing into a big moment, there was this pause. A silence that spoke louder than any words could. And during that pause, all the emotions I had ever buried deep inside came rushing back like a flood. It was overwhelming, but in the most unbelievable way. Now here's the twist. You might think I was ready for this. You might imagine I had practiced in my head how I would react, how I would smile, maybe even how I would shed a perfect tear. But the truth, I froze completely. I didn't move. I didn't speak. And for a moment I was scared that this silence might ruin everything. Because when something so life-changing is right in front of you, sometimes your heart forgets how to function. But then, out of nowhere, something broke the silence. Not with words, but with a simple look. A look that said, "This is it. This is real. This is the day everything changes." And when that look hit me, I swear it was like my whole body woke up. I felt alive in a way I had never experienced before. That's when it clicked. That's when I finally understood. This wasn't a dream anymore. This was happening. Right here, right now. And if you think the story couldn't get any more intense, just wait. Because what followed next made the entire world feel like it had flipped upside down. I stood there for a moment, letting the happiness sink in, the laughter, the clapping, the way every eye was on us. It felt like I had stepped into a dream. But deep inside, another wave of emotions began to rise. Because I realized this wasn't just about that moment. It was about everything it took to reach here. There were days when I almost gave up. Days when I thought my story would never reach this chapter. But something inside me kept saying, wait, the right time will come. And now, as I stood holding that ring, I felt like life was finally proving me right. But here sits where it gets even more unbelievable. Just when I thought the surprise was over, another twist came in. Out of nowhere, someone stepped forward, holding a small envelope. It was handed to me with a smile. I froze for a second, wondering what this could possibly mean. With shaking hands, I opened it slowly. And inside was a short message that left me completely speechless. My heart skipped a beat. I had to read it twice because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Everyone around me was watching closely, whispering, trying to guess what was written inside. But I couldn't even move for a moment. I just stood there, staring at the words, not knowing whether to laugh, cry, or scream from shock. The ring was already the biggest surprise of my life. But this letter took everything to a whole new level. And in that instant, I realized the engagement was just the beginning. Something much bigger was waiting for me.